Hi, I'm Papa Tone, and this is how I made train music. Recently, we've had some pretty fun adventures as a family that center on trains. We visited a model railroading setup that's been about 10 years in the making, and we went over to Travel Town here in Los Angeles to get some sunlight and play on the trains. As we were approaching one of those grand old locomotives, I found myself wondering if I could play a train like a musical instrument. Now, one of my favorite things about the maker mindset is following an idea to another thought and possibly coming out the end with something you weren't expecting at the beginning. So, on this particular afternoon, we turned our visit to Travel Town into a song. And this is the broad strokes of how that works. First, let's take the train whistle and turn it into a musical instrument. This is what the train whistle sounds like before we process it. So we're going to remove most of the background noise, the engine and the tracks and all that stuff, and let's test. As we continue to make this song, you're going to see me experiment with a couple of different kinds of musical instruments. But before we get into it, I want you to know that everything we're going to do can be done using your regular old computer keyboard. So literally anybody can do this. Pretty nifty. Now we've moved over to our music program. We're going to find our train whistle sample. There it is. And we're going to put it in what's called a simpler device. This allows us to play our sound file on a device like this. There we go. So it's starting to sound like a musical instrument, but we've got some trouble. We are going to modify the sound file. We're going to get rid of the tracks at the beginning. And we're going to shorten the sound file so that when we press our note, we get a chord. One of the first things we have to do is tune the train whistle to middle C so that it plays in tune with other instruments. So now when I hit this note, it sounds like a C note. There we go. I've added some effects, a little bit of reverb, and a few other basic things. And now when we play the train whistle, it sounds like an organ. Next, we can take the electronic instrument we've created using the train whistle and play it through this little blue guitar. Now, this guitar is an analog instrument, but it's also enabled with what's called MIDI, or Musical Instrument Digital Interface. That means we can play our train whistle through this guitar, which is the easiest way for me to play chords into a composition. So how does this work for us? Well, it helps to have a story when you're making a piece of music. So let's imagine a sad little clown walking through heavy rain. Do you have that image in your head? Okay, let's make some music for him. And keep in mind, this is a train whistle being played through a guitar. Next up, percussion. To make a virtual drum kit, basically all you need is a bunch of sounds, and how much you manipulate those sounds after the fact is up to you. In this case, I wanted to be able to recognize organic sounds from Travel Town. So we walked around and experimented with the trains and the environment around us. Here are the basic elements of our song. This is the train whistle right here. I made another instrument out of that little green sign, and that's what this sounds like. It's kind of a silly sound. And then we have our Travel Town drum kit. So this is the collection of all of those sounds. I really like this one. This is Nito tapping on that big metal drum. I just think that's a cool sound. We're doing pretty well. We've got our musical instrument and our drum kit put together from some of the sounds that we collected at the Traveltown Museum. And now it's time to start constructing our song. And as we move forward, we're going to take some of those sounds that we've collected and curated and start combining them with other musical instruments. Some of them simulated and some of them not. So the musical story we're trying to tell with the song has to do with trains. To me, that feels like sort of a mechanical rhythm, and it got me started thinking about the guys that you see in movies, the conductors. They always come out of the train and they're looking at their watch and saying, everybody on board, we got to be on schedule, and or something like that. So the ticking of a watch started sort of ringing in my ear, and that means a higher pitch. I didn't really want the exact rhythm, but I wanted sound similar to that. So we look around in our drum kit. These two sort of work for that. You can still hear the birds at the end of this one, but there's not much I can do about it. I try not to worry about that kind of stuff too much anymore because it slows me down. So just little metal pings that I recorded. And then I was goofing around just before I made this video, and I came up with this bass rhythm that I think will probably be what the rest of the song is laid down on. So this is what that sounds like. Oh, let's turn off the metronome. And now that it's time to start making the song, I'm just going to start layering other sounds on top of that first little loop that I made and go from there. At this point, we've got the first couple pieces of our song, so it's a good idea for me to turn off the camera now and get into actually making the tune. My understanding of music is definitely not in line with contemporary tunage, by the way, so just be prepared for that. But the point is, we're having fun. We're experimenting with sonic textures and memories that we collected on an iPhone, and we're turning them into something else. And that's what my favorite part about this process is. So here is the soundtrack to and from Traveltown. We need a little bass now. There you have it, train music. I wanted to mention before we go that you don't need a lot of stuff to make music in this way. We just happen to have a lot of instruments around the house because that's something that we enjoy. As you might imagine, this has led to us having some very highly cultured children. Before we go, I wanted to mention a few tools that you can use if you want to give this a try. You don't need to use multiple instruments like I did making this song. That was just me being enthusiastic about the process. And like in the case of the banjolele, like I don't even really know how to play that instrument. I was just goofing off, and that's what's fun about this process. So one of the tools you can use is called the Orba. It's a little handheld MIDI device. It's got a button for drums and chords and lead and bass. And it comes with pre-programmed sounds, so you can plug it into your computer, your recording software, and just start pressing buttons and twisting it and moving like this. And you can make a song with this in minutes and not have any musical background. So this is a pretty exciting tool if you're thinking about giving this a try. Another one is a little MIDI keyboard like this. This is called the Akai MPK Mini Mark III, I think. It's got piano keys and drum pads and a little joystick up here. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Pretty fun. This is, I think, about $100, and you can get them on Amazon, or you can also get them used on eBay. I think sometimes for a little less money if you watch. I don't want to scare you away from this process by sort of getting really involved with the layers that I added to this song, because it looks intimidating, but it's really not. And lastly, go out into the world, record audio samples, bring them home to your computer, mix them up. But I wanted to mention specifically, because in this case, we were using trains as our sound source, we were never close to active train tracks. We were at a train museum. The locomotives that we were sampling were not moving and have been retired for decades. Never, ever do anything artistic or otherwise near active train tracks. It's a very dangerous environment. If you're inspired, for instance, to go out and record railroad sounds, find something that is not active and not by an actual train track, okay? Be safe. Pay attention to your surroundings. Be gentle. Don't do any damage to the things that you're sampling with sounds. And if you want to have a little more fun, get a little toy xylophone, and you can get one of those little rubber tipped sticks that comes with that, and you can use that sort of to tap on things and get different sonic textures than just tapping on it with a finger or a hand, which is also a legitimate way to do it. I'd like to say thanks for listening and for watching. I also want to say thank you to my sons, Mato and Nito, who helped me collect the sounds that went into making the song, my wife, who inspired this most recent visit to Traveltown, and my cousin Jeff, who built the amazing Northern Division model railroad that we visited during the making of this song. I'd also like to remind you to like yourself as much as you possibly can every day. Share your affection and respect with everybody around you, and subscribe to periodicals of note. Fill your head with good, solid, empirical information. I'm Papa Tone. Take care, everybody.
Also, do you ever have games that come off the tracks?
Oh yeah, we were very lucky today. Because usually, especially when people come to look at it, everything goes wrong.